A Minecraft client, often known as a hacked client, is a modification to the game which offers modules, also known as cheats or hacks. These clients can be considered fundamental in a landscape like 2B2T, and many clients are accessible to the public for free. But what happens if a client developer adds something malicious to the client? Today in this video, you'll learn about backdoor clients on 2B2T and the consequences of downloading these clients. But before we begin, are you tired of having browsers lagging your game and taking up a lot of memory? Well, I got the perfect solution for you. Opera GX browser has options in the GX control panel to limit RAM and CPU usage, allowing you to keep many tabs open and not hurting your gaming performance. No other browser allows you to customize your experience as much as Opera GX does. Think the background of the browser is boring? You can pick some of their special themes and wallpapers in easy setup. Choose the colors you like the most and upload your own background photos. You can even pick many animated wallpapers that you can find at Opera add-ons. Do you want some music? You can easily go to the GX Player tab, which lets you keep your favorite streaming services in one place and play music directly from the sidebar. Opera GX is also available on mobile and can be connected to the desktop version. Opera GX just launched a Minecraft server, and you can have fun in different modes like survival Minecraft, duels, bridges, and even survival games. Join Opera GX's Minecraft server and participate in competitions, giveaways, and events. So what are you waiting for? Join their Minecraft server and download Opera GX with the link in the description. Thank you Opera GX for sponsoring this video. This story begins around the end of 2012. A player named PopBob stopped letting another player named X0XP use his client. X0XP heavily relied on PopBob's LogoutSpot plugin, so X0XP would make his own client since no other client recorded them. X0XP would go on to name this client Adolf client. It innovated on many features that would later become standard in other clients, such as viewing what enchantments others' armor and tools had. Adolf also included modules like Bow Aimbot, a command that instantly teleported a player to spawn, as well as numerous NCP bypasses, like the ability to walk on water and LogoutSpot, which, in contrast to PopBob's LogoutSpot, which simply printed coordinates to a .txt file, X0XP's drew live LogoutSpot locations. Adolf client was later distributed among some of X0XP's friends, but unbeknownst to them, inside the client's code had a backdoor that leaked their coordinates. All X0XP had to do was type a command into chat, forcing everybody else online to private message him their coordinates without them seeing. X0XP would eventually use this backdoor to obtain multiple facepunch bases and gain coordinates to bases like Valkyria and Imperator's base. This will last for a few months. In mid-2013, the backdoor was leaked when _Aaron_ was being annoying in chat. X0XP grew tired of his messages, and since he knew Aaron was using Adolf client, he would kill Aaron, as X0XP also implemented a command allowing him to /kill anyone using Adolf client. This made Aaron look through the code, and when he discovered that Adolf client was the sole reason for his death, he would paste the code into 2B2T chat. Surprisingly, this got more players to run the client, but Adolf client would eventually be phased out due to newer clients. Around the same time Adolf client was discovered to be backdoored, another client named NHACK was in the midst. This client was created by PopBob and was used as a backdoor to make two players quit 2B2T forever. Sometime in late 2013, many players, including XCC2, Taylor112, and iTristan, were rebuilding a base known as Camtown. They were all using PopBob's NHACK client, which had all the typical features of a hacked client at the time. PopBob was adding features and sending out new versions every few days, but this was when an unfortunate event occurred. After NHACK was updated to version 1.5.1, PopBob secretly included an option to snapshot someone's own desktop. PopBob would send the players Cameron and Amalimix links to screenshots of their own computer desktops, which made them lose their minds, quitting 2B2T forever. After word got out that NHACK was backdoored, most players stopped using it. On August 4th, 2014, a client created by Pyrobyte named Vapid was released on iTristan's GitHub. This client was used by only a few players on the server and was safe to use. However, in 2015, a player named Clyde and an undocumented player wanted to update Vapid and, for fun, backdoor the client. They would release their updated Vapid client to the public, and when Clyde typed in chat lolxd, anyone running their updated Vapid would private message Clyde their coordinates, but would remove the private message from chat, leaving no trace. Clyde did get many coordinates and could have kept doing so secretly. However, he made a simple programming mistake. To understand how he made this mistake, there's a thing in programming called regular expressions, where you can develop a pattern to match something. An everyday example is when we plural a word that ends in y, we usually replace it with e's. The regular expression in the Vapid backdoor was the client's private messaging to Clyde and whether it was a number. Clyde made a mistake in the regular expressions. He wanted to know if the coordinates he received were from the overworld or the nether. So for the nether, he stored it as 0, and for the overworld, he stored it as 1. Clyde didn't realize that Minecraft stored the nether as a negative number. The Vapid backdoor hid coordinates in the overworld, but if someone was running Vapid in the nether and Clyde said lolxd in chat, it would no longer be invisible to the player. Many players took screenshots of this happening and posted them on the 2b2t subreddit. On January 2nd, 2016, a post was created on James Russell's blog where Clyde would say that James Russell's accused Clyde of running viruses and slandered his reputation. However, James Russell's in response clarified that he didn't accuse Clyde of hacking players, but instead was warning players that the updated Vapid client was sending coordinates to Clyde and providing screenshots of it happening. Eventually, Clyde made a fixed version of his Vapid client, but nobody would download it for obvious reasons. A few months later, Kinodupe was made by the players Kinorana and Clyde on September 19th, 2016. It only existed for 6 days during the 11.11 dupe, and its only purpose was to make duping easier during the 11.11 dupe. However, while it made duping easier, it was also purposely made to gather information from players to locate their bases. Clyde had set up a server that recorded the information, making a simple HTTP post request to that server with basic information, like the server it was duping on, the coordinates and dimensions of the player, and the player's username. They decided it would cause more panic to leak the document than to use it themselves, as that would be less interesting. The document had nearly 11,000 entries, and it was eventually patched by Housemaster on November 26, 2016, as the server updated to Minecraft version 1.11. Thought Kinodupe was bad? Well, the last backdoor client was the most damaging and borderline illegal. Originally, Phobos client was safe and was developed by the players Earthquake, Crystallink, O'Hare, and Megan. Hand-chosen players used the client for its advantages in Crystal PvP. However, Travis, the developer of another client called Worse+2, and other known Imperium members attempted to steal Phobos client's source code. The efforts were eventually successful when Crystallink's Discord account was token logged using a version of Worse+2 leaked to him containing a token logger. Phobos members would make version 1.3.3 public through Discord to prevent the Imperium from using it privately, and players would soon re-upload it to GitHub. Crystallink and Megan had a vendetta against someone. While Crystallink had his intentions, Megan wanted revenge to spite 2b2t groups such as the Imperium and grief bases of those he didn't like. Crystallink, on the other hand, wanted to spite the developers of other hack clients and gain access to a user's PC to locate files from other paid clients. On October 17th, the development of Phobos client was finished, and a day later, it was released to the public through Discord. For the following few days, over 15 bases were griefed due to the backdoor. Many Imperium members downloaded the Phobos backdoor, which gave Phobos developers their Minecraft chat logs that included base and stash coordinates. Numerous members of the Imperium's real-life information were also released, and as a result, 70% of the group's active members left in the days that followed. On October 21st, in the same Discord it was released in, a player named 3VT announced that the client was a token logger, which prompted a player named 0x22 to search through the code. 0x22, a known programmer and client developer, was suspicious as he was aware of Phobos developers' previous projects, which were discontinued, abandoned, or forcefully shut down due to their malicious nature. Before Phobos was released to the public, he would state that the client was backdoored in some capacity. Even though Phobos wasn't open source, meaning that the code wasn't public, the decompiled output of the client was close enough to the actual source code. 0x22 would look through the code, checking its abilities and design, and after a few minutes of searching, he found the backdoor. It was discovered that the Phobos backdoor could steal Discord tokens, Minecraft usernames and passwords, and Google Chrome usernames and passwords. The backdoor was used over 4,000 times on the server in less than 48 hours. Countless bases were compromised, and personal information was collected. Many victims reported the developers to the FBI, and archives of the backdoor code were made. Phobos continues to be a popular client for its hacks, with players downloading clean versions of the client. If there is anything to learn from this video, never fully trust a hacked client. Many cracked clients have been used to gain information from players, and you never know what sort of things a developer could add to the code that could steal valuable information from you. If you are to download a hacked client, you should always decompile them or check their code before downloading it.